Virgin Most Powerful Radio, sharing the gospel with clarity and charity.
And now, Virgin Most Powerful Radio is pleased to present Hands-On Apologetics with renowned Catholic author and apologist, Gary Michuta.
And welcome, everybody. Hands-On Apologetics. You have entered into Virgin Most Powerful's Apologetics Dojo, and it's great to be with you today. I am Gary Michuta, host and sensei for this hour, and it's great to be with you indeed. I had a very busy morning. I actually made a guest appearance on the Polly Pat show, which is actually two good friends who have been on this show, Eric Robinson and Pat Flynn. They have combined their ministries at least once a week, where they investigate certain things in Christian or Catholic theology. And I was privileged to be on the show today. They taped it regarding a video that was out about the best argument against Catholicism, and by a fellow named Walls. And we basically just tore it to pieces. So that was kind of our version of batting around the piñata. So it was a lot of fun. But anyway, enough about that. I also want to welcome all of you aboard. Got a great show. We're going to talk about doing apologetics online, using social media. And we're going to have a good friend, Ken Litchfield, come on the other side of the break, where we're going to talk about using social media. You know, Facebook, YouTube, all platforms, the right things, the wrong things to do. And, of course, you know, I always say, let's do apologetics in place, right? Use social media while you are basically confined to your domicile. I know many of us still are with the COVID stuff, so why not make good use of social media to explain and defend the faith with clarity, charity, and confidence. So it'll be coming up on the other side of the break. Also, we have our Finding the Fallacy for today, which is the Vacuous Truth Fallacy. And we also look at an early church father. Today's early church father is Pelagius. So that would be very interesting. Very different kind of quote-unquote early church father. But before we do anything, I want to welcome all of you watching live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and all the other platforms we live stream on. Welcome aboard, folks. Welcome to the dojo. Great to see familiar names there in the social media section off to my right. I also want to welcome all of you listening on radio, wherever you may be around the country, or listening via podcast around the world. Welcome aboard. Thank you so much for listening. And I want to thank all of you, for if you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe. Tell people about the program. Why? Because this helps getting the truth out there, giving visibility. And I also want to mention this Apocrypha Apocalypse, I guess you would kind of say project that I have going on in YouTube. I also want to thank all of you, because I know that I've received lots of hits and views, and that helps a lot in terms of visibility. So if you haven't done it, please jump on YouTube, type in Apocrypha Apocalypse, or just go to handsonapologetics.com and click on Apocrypha Apocalypse on the tabs there. And please, watch the videos, like them. It's slowly growing, and that's another reason to, that helps get those videos out, because I'm going to be giving a lot of great information about probably one of the most important issues that separate Catholics and Protestants on the Old Testament canon. So I know some of you have already subscribed, actually quite a few. So I truly appreciate it. And also, please do it to this show. Click the bell, ring the whistle. No, wait, blow the whistle, ring the bell. There we go. And we truly appreciate it. All right, so without further ado, why don't we jump to the Finding the Fallacy? Today's Finding the Fallacy is an interesting one. It is called Vacuous Truth. Very strange sounding fallacy indeed. What is vacuous truth? Well, in mathematics and logic, a vacuous truth is a conditional or universal statement that is only true because the antecedent cannot be satisfied. For example, the statement, all cell phones in the room are turned off, will be true even if there are no cell phones in the room. In fact, it would be equally true to say all cell phones in the room are turned on. Why? Because there's no cell phones in the room. So it's kind of a fun fallacy. It basically makes a statement that depends upon something which is a null set. Things like that don't exist. And so whatever truth it may say, quote unquote, the truth is vacuous. It really doesn't have any meaning whatsoever. So, for example, you could also say another vacuous truth would be all cats on Mars are male, right? And that would be true because there are no cats on Mars. So it could be male, or you could say all cats on Mars are not male. Well, that could be true as well. Because why? Because that category, cats on Mars, is a null set. There's nothing that occupies that category. Vacuous truth. Is it present in apologetics? Sometimes, but quite rare. It's quite rare. Usually if someone really heavily qualifies something, they might actually qualify everything out of existence for that category and make a statement about it. And of course, it really has no bearing whatsoever. So, for this, you just have to be careful. Listen to the argument. Pay attention what would qualify when somebody makes a statement like all cats on Mars. Ask yourself, are there cats on Mars? And then basically, if you determine that there can't be any member in that category, then that person is utilizing our fallacy for today, which is vacuous truth. All right. Lots of fun. I love fallacies like that. It's just very strange, bad ways of arguing. All right. Without further ado, why don't we jump to our early church father for today, who is Pelagius, who flourished around AD 412. Pelagius, of course, is called the arch-heretic because he is the founder of the heresy of Pelagianism. And the dates of his birth and death cannot be established. He is most likely a native of Ireland, or if not, at least by his name, he was of the Isles. So that's kind of interesting that Pelagianism had come from a person from Ireland, or possibly from Ireland. He came to Rome about the year 384 AD and remained there as an ascetic and a monk until 410. He fled to Carthage along with his disciple Celestius, which we talked about on this program last couple episodes. Before the Visigoths entered Rome, it was in 411 at Carthage that his teachings met their first opposition, and it was in 412 that the great St. Augustine first began to write against them. So he was excommunicated at the Council of Carthage in 411. Pelagius took refuge in the east, where in 415 St. Jerome took up his pen against him. So talk about being hit like a piñata, huh, folks? First you got the great St. Augustine writing against your teachings. You go east, and then you end up with the great Jerome writing against your teachings. So you think that Pelagius would have figured out something is wrong with his teachings by then. But in the East, he enjoyed the confidence of various bishops, including John of Jerusalem among them. And the Pelagian doctrines were condemned by the councils at Carthage and at Melvis in 416, and by Pope St. Innocent I in 417. And after some vacillation by Pope Zosimus in 418. So it runs a string of condemnations beginning in Carthage, also by various popes. And we talked about Zosimus, I think, last episode. Finally, Pelagianism was condemned in Canons 1 and 4 at the Ecumenical Council of Ephesus in 431. And Pelagius disappears from history after 418 and has long been presumed to be dead. And, that's often how we find out, the usual dates of when somebody dies. They just kind of disappear from history. The basic principle of Pelagianism is the affirmation of the self-sufficiency of man's free will. Pelagius asserted that by relying solely on his own powers, a man can always will and do what is good. So Pelagianism involves further a denial of original sin, denial of the absolute necessity of baptism, and presents a total distortion of the theology of grace. Insofar as his moral conduct is concerned, it must be admitted that his life, that he led a life of exemplary virtue. So Pelagius' writings are numerous. He wrote an awful lot, but like quite a few early church fathers, very few have been preserved fully, and many times very few were preserved under his own name. So that is our early church father for today, Pelagius. And, it's kind of interesting how, even though he denies original sin, he denies baptism, or the necessity of baptism, I should say, and his whole theology of grace is wrong. Nevertheless, it's interesting that he lives kind of like above his theology, in that he lives an exemplarily virtuous life as an ascetic and monk, despite these serious errors in his theology. And, isn't that the truth? Another thing we could pull out from Pelagius, maybe a little bit of comfort in this confusing time, is the fact that although some great, solid church fathers condemn Pelagius' teaching, nevertheless, there were some bishops who buddied up to him and gave him, supported him, basically. So, the same is true today as it is back then. The church is never pristine, but nevertheless, it is Christ's body, and it will stay here till the end of time. And I hear the music coming up. That means after the break, we're going to have our great friend Ken Litchfield on. We're going to talk about apologetics and social media. You don't want to miss it. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
In 1 Corinthians 13:13, St. Paul says, "So there abide faith, hope, and love, these three." According to St. Ignatius of Antioch, faith is the beginning and love is the end. And God is the two of them brought into unity. Then comes everything else that makes up a Christian. May God grant that we may attain all the virtues that make for authentic followers of His Son.
Did you know my mom's gonna have a baby?
She is? Will it be a boy? Or will it be a girl?
We don't know yet, but we heard the heartbeat and my dad said this is gonna be someone very special.
You mean like being a president? Or maybe a doctor?
Well, probably maybe like a singer or dancer, I think.
Hello, my name is Marianne Koharski. I'm the director of Pro-Life Across America. We know that every baby is a miracle and has the potential to do great things. If you know someone who is pregnant or in need of alternatives or assistance, or would like to support the work of Pro-Life Across America, please call 1-800-366-7773 or visit our website at prolifeacrossamerica.org. Pro-Life Across America is non-political and totally educational.
Pro-Life Across America, the Billboard people.
This is Terry Barber. I want to thank you for your support here at Virgin Most Powerful Radio. Here's an easy way to do it. If you're going to sell or buy a house, call Real Estate for Life, 877-543-3871, because they're going to get you a Christ-centered agent to purchase your home or to sell your home. And at the close of escrow, a portion of his commission goes right back to Virgin Most Powerful Radio. Call 877-543-3871. Thank you so much for your support.
Now, back to Hands-on Apologetics with Gary Machuda. If you'd like to join the conversation, call 888-526-2151. Here's Gary.
And welcome back, everybody. Hands on Apologetics. And as always, we're doing Apologetics 24/7, at least as much as we can. Every day of the week, we want to share and help people better understand the faith, clear up misunderstandings. And that includes using social media. So we have our good friend Ken Litchfield on. He's going to be talking about using social media in apologetics. And Ken, by the way, is a lifelong Catholic, member of the Holy Family Parish in Memphis, Michigan. Serves as financial secretary for All Saints Memphis Knights of Columbus Council. And after reading the Left Behind books, he started studying the Catholic faith more deeply. He's been there to answer questions for Catholic Answers, live call-in show. He's a moderator, contributor to the Bible Christian Society Facebook page, and also he's published articles with the Coming Home Network website and Catholic 365. In 2018, he published his first book called How Old Is Your Church?, which is an organized collection of 25 short essays from his larger library of shorter essays. And Ken Litchfield, welcome to Hands on Apologetics.
Hi, Gary. Glad to be on the show again. Thanks for having me.
Yes, it's great to have you back. And especially with this, because you've done a lot of work in the area of social media and apologetics.
Yeah, there's a large variety of things you can do out there, and I concentrate pretty much on like Facebook and then somewhat on YouTube also, but pretty much on Facebook, and then I help out at the Coming Home Network also.
Right. Yeah, so, why don't we dive into the subject, because I always tell people we should do apologetics in place, since many of us are stationed in place with the COVID stuff. Is it really a good forum to do apologetics in?
Well, one-on-one is best, but, as life is today, you do what you can with what you have. Right. And so online apologetics is an option that we need to take advantage of.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but it does have it has its advantages, and it really has some distinctive disadvantages too, doesn't it?
Right. It's talking in person with people is always better than online, because you miss the nuances of facial expression and things like that. But when you can, when you're talking online, you can talk to people more around the world, and not just the people that are near you. So the outreach is bigger online, but the personal interaction is better one-on-one.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so you could reach a lot more people going on social media than you could, if we weren't utilizing the internet.
Exactly. Like I have Facebook friends around the world, and like one of my Facebook friends is in Scotland, and he was a cradle Catholic, but he was attending a more evangelical kind of church. But I helped him come back to the Catholic Church, and basically the Eucharist was the thing that really made the difference for him. That's the one thing you can get at the Catholic Church that you can't get anywhere else.
Right. Yeah. So that's cool. So you're here in Michigan with me, and yet you're influencing people around the world through social media. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. But the main thing to remember is, like, when you're doing online apologetics, is to always be charitable, because whoever you're talking to, no matter where they are in the world and you're the face of the Catholic Church that they see.
Yes.
So in order to present yourself the best that you can online, you need to take advantage of receiving all the grace you can get. And the primary channel of grace is through the sacraments, but prayer and Bible reading and other devotionals also help along that line. So But if you are not in a state of grace personally, you need to go to confession to get yourself cleaned up so that you can be open to and receive the grace that's available through the sacraments.
Yeah, that is such an important point because I think when you're on social media, you don't realize that you might be the only person this person has contact with who's Catholic. And so, like you said, in a way, you're kind of the representative of the church. And that should affect how you interact with people, right? Because you can't be flippant, you can't be mean. You really do need to be clear and intelligent, but also compassionate as well.
Right. You have to represent the church the best you can, and any meanness that comes from you reflects on the Catholic Church. Because they'll be thinking, oh, well, Catholics are just mean people. So you really have to be careful in what you do and how you present yourself.
That's true. Yeah, I think and if you want to go in a different direction, I'm certainly open to it. But I think one of the biggest pitfalls with social media, and I saw this at the very beginning, back with CompuServe and things like that, is people take on a different persona online. And they don't. I know people who are very holy and kind people when you meet them face to face, but man, when they're chatting online or something like that, they take on a whole different demeanor.
Yeah. When you don't have the person right in front of you, it is easier to be mean. So you got to watch that. Now, the other thing is, once you have yourself spiritually prepared, you have to get yourself mentally prepared. And the main thing to remember is that the Bible is a Catholic book. The Catholic Church assembled it, and we maintained it for 1,100 years before any Protestant church was started. And your main goal is to share the truth of the Catholic faith. It is up to the person that you're talking with to accept or reject it. And God will judge them and us, based on what we did with the knowledge that we had. So if a person rejects what you say, doesn't reflect on you, and they'll have to work that out with Jesus on their judgment day. And just because a person rejects what you present to them doesn't mean that they're damned to hell. So definitely don't be saying that to people. But that also, it's based on what their understanding is. You may not have explained it well enough for them to understand, or they just might not have clicked for them at the time that you explained it. Perhaps down the road, it might click for them and they'll understand. And it might be just, a seed of truth that has to grow in their heart by God's grace. Yeah. So just because somebody doesn't become a Catholic in the 5 minutes you spent with them, you don't have to worry about how things turned out that day at that time.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Don't expect doorstep conversions. And yeah, that's very helpful advice because they might not accept what you have to say this time, but that doesn't mean that somewhere down the road they might think about it and God's grace could work in their hearts and they could bear fruit.
Right. And the Catholic Church faith can be defended biblically, historically, and logically. Whereas the Protestant faith traditions are, there's thousands of different Protestant faith traditions. There's 5 different Protestant churches in my own hometown of only 1,200 people. So right. They're all based on, the pastors, the founders, interpretation of a few verses out of the Bible that they then use as a lens to review the rest of the Bible. But the Catholic faith is the only one that makes sense of the whole Bible because it existed before we assembled the Bible.
Right. Yeah, that's a very good point. And so, so first you need to make sure that you're armored, you're equipped, you're in a state of grace, you frequent the sacraments, you pray, you study, you meditate on the Word of God, and then jump online. And like you said, you're just there to present the truth, right? It's not up to us to convert anybody. That's the job of the Holy Spirit.
Right. We share the truth and then plant the seeds of truth, and the Holy Spirit brings the fruit.
Yeah.
And always, pray for the people that you talk with, that they may be open to the Holy Spirit, to let that move them. But, the main thing is to not get frustrated just because, they don't convert in the 5 minutes that you spent with them.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Especially when you're limited online, often, Twitter, you can only have so many characters, comment sections, you only have so much time. People's eyes glaze over. You really are limited. So you're just planting seeds. Don't expect mass conversions.
Right. The main format that I use is Facebook. There's a lot of different Catholic and Protestant groups. And in these different groups on Facebook, you can share and defend the Catholic faith with them. And you can post things on your own page that other people will comment on, perhaps. And you can post links on your own page or in the groups that you're a member of. And there's many, many different Catholic and Protestant groups out there, and many groups that have Catholics, Protestants, Orthodox, a large group of people, so that everybody can offer the case for their faith tradition. And so don't be afraid to join one of those groups. And even if you're only reading what other people have written, that can be an education on how to do apologetics, and you can also learn things. And also by reading what different Protestants write about their faith tradition in that group, you can learn about what they think in their particular Protestant faith tradition.
Very good. Well,
so
we're
the
chatting
music
with
up. We'll take a break.
Yep, music's coming up. We're chatting with Ken Litchfield on online apologetics. More to come on the other side of the break. You're listening to Hands On Apologetics. We'll be right back.
Help the Helpless, a Minnesota St. Paul nonprofit organization chaired by Father of Tyr and volunteers, is humbly asking you for your kind support to help the poor and the handicapped children in India and Ecuador. Through financial support from the Help of the Helpless benefactors, the children are provided with clothing, food, education, shelter, and the teachings of the Catholic Church. The mission is to help children thrive and become self-sufficient young adults leading productive lives. We also provide aid to poor families in Ecuador with food baskets, medicines, medical assistance, and help with funeral needs for the deceased. The work in India is done by Father Antonio's organization, St. Mary's. In Ecuador, the work is being done by the Servant Sisters of the Home of Mother. You can call us at 877-762-8857. To learn more, please visit our website, www.helpthehelpless.org. God bless you.
If you shop on Amazon.com, there's an easy way to support Virgin Most Powerful Radio. Just visit smile.amazon.com and type in Catholic Resource Center under the desired charity. Now, when you log into your Amazon account and purchase products, a portion of it will automatically go to support Virgin Most Powerful Radio at no cost to you. Thanks in advance for supporting CRC and VMPR, and may God richly bless you and your family.
Buying or selling your home or your business property? This is Terry Barber. Real Estate for Life underwrites the Terry and Jesse Show. And they can connect you to one of 900 pro-life real estate agents around the world. And when they receive their referral fee, they will give 80% of it to a pro-life organization. Wow! That's 80%! realestateforlife.org, 877-LIFE-US1.
This is Jesse Romero. You're listening to Hands-On Apologetics with Gary Machuda on Virgin Most Powerful Radio.
And welcome back, everybody. And we're chatting with our good friend, Master Apologist Ken Litchfield, author of the book, How Old Is Your Church? You can get that on Amazon.com. And we're talking about social media and defending and explaining the faith through social media. And Ken, right before the break, I'm glad you brought this up because there are different kinds of avenues, aren't there, on various platforms, like just posting on a Facebook page or joining a forum or a group, and they both are very helpful. Like you said, with groups, you can learn an awful lot about other people's faiths, which helps in apologetics.
Right. You have to know the people that you're dealing with and how to present the information to them in order to present it to them in something that makes sense to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
If you're just explaining things in a Catholic way, it may not make sense to, some other Christian from a different faith tradition. Right. So it's good to know, like, where they're coming from so that you can kind of like speak their language.
Right.
Catholic terms often don't make sense to people from different Protestant faith traditions, or they've been told a misunderstanding of what that means in the Catholic Church. So with Facebook, you have the advantage of being able to post up to 8,000 characters, and you can post pictures and links to articles and videos and things like that. But the thing is, in our modern society where people aren't willing to put much effort into learning, a lot of people won't read a post that's longer than a paragraph. Yes. So there are some people that have enough time or are willing to take the time to read, something that might be a page or two, but a lot of people are just looking for like a paragraph or less. So
right.
It's not always easy.
Carl Keating was on yesterday. He was talking about the stupefaction of public education and how we're kind of dumbed down. And really, it does come down to people just don't make the time or effort to look into things. And that might be why social media is probably a good medium for us today, because you don't have to know a lot. You can just put a link to a video that explains something really well, or article, and and they can do it on their own. They can click it, listen to it, whatever.
Mm-hmm. And so we do what we can, and then we move on.
Yeah.
So another way that you can reach people over the internet is through YouTube. Where you can make and share your own apologetic videos like you're doing with your Apocrypha Apocalypse YouTube channel. And there you can do a video on a topic, and people are more likely to watch a video because they're used to watching TV and getting things visually and through audio, as opposed to reading a book. So when you know the market you're trying to reach, you can use the platform that works best with that market. People will respond more to the content and the sincerity as opposed to the production quality. So you don't need to set up a fancy studio and get a fancy camera. Using your cell phone or most anything else will work.
Right.
So it's easy enough to make YouTube videos, and it has the advantage of you can upload your content to YouTube. A lot of people can search for it, and it's easier for people to bring in and understand. People can subscribe to your channel. You can potentially monetize your videos eventually if you get a large enough subscription following. But some of the disadvantages are that people won't often watch a video longer than 2 minutes. And people have to look for the content on YouTube to actually be able to watch it. It's not automatically showing up in front of them.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's very true. In fact, yeah, great advice, because I know a lot of us gets tripped up. We become perfectionists, and we say, unless I got a perfect studio, perfect background, high-end quality, I'm not going to do it. But, if you look on videos, even Christian videos on YouTube, a lot of them are just sitting at kitchen tables with their iPhones. And actually, the picture is really good. The background may not be very entertaining, but I know people who have, 13K subscribers, and they're just have an iPhone in the kitchen and they just talk about the faith. It's amazing.
Right. And, having, the kitchen cupboards, as your background, or, your bedroom wall, doesn't really matter, because that actually kind of helps with your sincerity. That shows that you're just a real person.
Right. Yeah.
You don't have to sit in front of a stained glass window or something like that, or have a simulated stained glass window behind you, or some icon of something from the Catholic faith or something like that.
Yeah. Now, Ken, you've been over my house. You've been to the dojo, so you know that the background behind me, that's how my house looks.
Right. It's real life.
It's real life. Yeah, right. But, yeah, very well put, because, people can relate, in fact, there another pair that was on my show earlier this week, Arthur and Teresa Beam. They did videos in their front room over the coffee table, and it was wonderful, because you felt like you were there in their living room, and they, it wasn't like they're experts or, lecturing to you. You felt like you were in a person-to-person conversation. So, yeah, I totally agree with your assessment.
Yeah, it's more personal that way. It's more like you're visiting with them in their house or something like that, as opposed to, something made up. People see things on TV, and there's a lot of, like a news studio or whatever, and things are set up to look very professional for presenting information, but it isn't so homey feeling,
Yeah.
Whereas if you're doing it from your living room or whatever, or your bedroom, your study, you can. It appears more friendly, more human.
Yeah. That actually brings up a interesting point in terms of when we're sharing the faith, it's really interpersonal. You need to have the person's trust. They have to know you. And I think you would agree with that. But online, sometimes that's really hard to be able to develop a relationship with someone who maybe all you see is the text on your screen.
Right. At least like with Facebook, you have a profile picture that, can give people an idea what you look like,
right,
and who you are. And they can check out your homepage and see what you're actually about. And of course, doing a YouTube video, they can see your face and you talking, and perhaps see a part of your house, or maybe you're doing it outside. Maybe you're doing it at your church, and they can have an idea what your church looks like. So that's
exactly great idea.
A way of taking advantage of being more personal in a YouTube video, or on Facebook. Now, Facebook is also connected to an organization called Instagram. It's kind of like the next generation, and it's more popular with young people. And on there, you can post memes or pictures or links for people to comment on. And then you can also post things on there that will link to your Facebook page or your YouTube channel. So it's a way of reaching out to a larger audience and getting people better connected with you on a different marketplace, basically. You know, there's a different audience on Instagram as opposed to Facebook. So you can go to Instagram and connect to a whole different group of people.
Right.
And then
now, do you
them to
much work on
larger stuff.
Instagram?
No, don't do anything on Instagram. I'm having enough work to keep up with Facebook and YouTube.
Right.
With Facebook, they also have Facebook Messenger, and I've been getting like a lot of questions from people around the world on Facebook Messenger, and just getting through those every day is a fair bit of work.
Right.
But
yeah.
I help people out as I can.
Yeah. Praise God. That's awesome. That's why we need people like you to field these questions. And there are a lot, especially, with going on large platforms like that. The great thing is there's no shortage of work, right? You're always, I know I'm always getting questions. You're getting questions. You don't have to sit around waiting for someone. You'll hear from them.
Right. The harvest is great, but, need more workers in the field to help out.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's Instagram. I have to confess, my daughter is a whiz on Instagram. I know practically nothing, but it certainly is an up and coming social media platform, if it hasn't already up and come. So I have to look into that.
Yeah. Well, because us old guys got used to Facebook and working on Facebook, the younger generation had to move on to something more for them, so they moved on to Instagram.
Okay, yeah. So it got a little square, huh?
Right. Yep. If my parents are doing it, I don't want to be there anymore.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So very interesting. So there's many avenues. There's Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. There's joining groups. There's just posting pictures. All sorts of things. Lots of avenues. Oh, and I hear the music coming up. We're chatting with Ken Litchfield, author of the book How Old Is Your Church? And more to come on the other side of the break. Listen to Hands On Apologetics.
Hi, this is Jesse Romero from the Terry and Jesse Show, also from Jesus 911. Let's face it, we all need to use the internet, but we need screen accountability. Why? Pornography is a huge problem, especially on the internet. And every time we tap into the internet, we get bombarded with images and temptations that degrade our humanity. So we need Covenant Eyes to block these pornographic sites and advertisements from infiltrating our lives. Covenant Eyes helps us take custody of our eyes and custody of our intellect. So I recommend you go to covenanteyes.com and type in the promo code VMPR to support the network. Protect yourself and your family from the imminent threats on the internet. It's www.covenanteyes.com, code VMPR, live porn free. Thank you for listening to Virgin Most Powerful Radio. Thank you. God bless you. Keep the faith.
Sirach 11:24 says, "Do not say, I am self-sufficient. What harm can come to me now?" According to St. Catherine of Siena, presumption is like vermin, burrowing at the root of the tree of our soul. If we do not uproot it with great care and humility, it will eventually destroy the soul. May God keep us from all presumption of mind and heart, and realize that we depend on Him for everything.
Buying or selling your home or your business property? This is Terry Barber. Real Estate for Life underwrites the Terry and Jesse Show. And they can connect you to one of 900 pro-life real estate agents around the world. And when they receive their referral fee, they will give 80% of it to a pro-life organization. Wow! That's 80%! realestateforlife.org, 877-LIFE-US1.
Now, back to Hands-on Apologetics with Gary Machuda. If you'd like to join the conversation, call 888-526-2151. Here's Gary.
And welcome back, everybody. And we're chatting with Ken Litchfield about doing apologetics online, social media, and talked about lots of great stuff. So there's many different avenues you could explore out there. It's not just a one-size-fits-all.
Right. We've already gone over Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and there's also Snapchat, which is kind of like Instagram, where you can create and share short posts. And those posts can also include links to direct people to your Facebook page or YouTube channel. And it's another way to reach out to a different market. There's maybe some people that, are on all the different social media platforms, but most everybody I would think would gravitate to one in particular and check the other ones occasionally. Mm-hmm. So Snapchat is another way that you can reach out to people and then connect them with some deeper information. And again, you can put the information out there, and if people respond, that's up to them. If they don't, that's also up to them, and God will judge them in the end. So you don't have to worry if people don't, check out if it doesn't increase your traffic on your YouTube channel or your Facebook page or something like that, that's up to them. You offered the information, and it's up to them to respond to it after that.
Yes, and prayer is so important too, isn't it? Because just pray for God to send the people that need the information to see it, and I think we often skip that step, but we really should be pleading with our Lord to, make good information known.
Exactly. We have to pray to God that by His grace, that they'll respond to the information that we share. And that God will send you the right people at the right time to help them move forward in their faith journey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Twitter is another commonly used platform. But the thing with Twitter is you're limited to 280 characters, including spaces. So your posts there have to be short. But still, you can post pictures and links for your Facebook page or YouTube channel. So it's another way to scatter seeds of truth and let people to respond to them as they see fit.
Right. So when, of course, with these kind of platforms, it's open for other people to join in. Other ones are closed too, like Facebook. You could just restrict it to family members, things like that. So you could maybe even have multiple accounts, right? One for a family, one for public.
Yeah, you could have multiple accounts like that for your, family only. And you can also, like things that you post, you can decide which kind of group that is available to. You could, if you have like pictures of your family reunion or birthday party, you could post that to your Facebook page, but it would be limited to your family group as opposed to a worldwide group.
Mm-hmm.
For me personally, my life is an open book, and I post things about cars, things about the Catholic faith, political things,
Yeah.
things about just my life.
Yeah.
And it's all open to everybody.
Uh,
So let people know that
that's-
I have multiple levels of my personality. I'm not just one thing.
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. Is if you do that, then people feel like they have a personal connection with you. They know you. You have a relationship with you. Where if you did public only, right, and their don't access part of the rest of your life, it could be a lot more difficult to develop relationships, right?
Right. By allowing all the information to be there, it gives people a more personal connection to me. If I post a picture of my rebuilt front porch, that lets people know that, I live somewhere. This is my house, and my porch was getting pretty rough, so I had to rebuild it. But it's not like the only thing I know about is the Catholic faith. I know about carpentry also, and how to build things.
Yeah.
And when I post pictures of the cars I'm working on, it lets people know, lets people see interesting old cars, and also lets them know that I know how to work on old cars too.
Yeah. Yeah, so you could attract people who are interested in carpentry or interested in restoration of old cars. And, that might be the initial attraction. And then once they get to know you, they also see the other stuff as well.
Right. It's another way to, sneak in some other information to people that they might not otherwise see. If somebody's only interested in cars or primarily interested in cars, and then would rather go to a car show on a Sunday morning than go to church, they might see something about the Catholic faith, and it might connect with them. And it's like, oh, well, maybe there's something to this going to church stuff.
Yeah. Right.
I go to 7:30 Mass on Sunday morning, so there's a whole lot of the day left after I'm done with church for the day that day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And also for Catholics, we have the option of going on Saturday night. So you can still go to a car show Sunday morning.
There you go. Yeah, I know. Just looking at your Facebook page, it's cool to see the cars, and it's also cool to read there. Whenever you write on apologetics as well. So that's something for people to keep in mind too. Is that I know many people are very private; they don't want to share a lot. It's difficult for them to share the faith, but there's also benefits too, because you can make more friends and also develop much deeper relationships with them if they know that you have certain hobbies that maybe they're interested in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, with you as a profession though, right?
Right. Well, yeah. Old cars is my profession, but I'm also interested in model trains. I have such a large variety of interests. It's really hard to put me in a box. It's like, well, he's just that guy. No, he's that guy and that guy and that guy and that guy.
Yeah.
And so no matter who I'm talking to, I can find something to talk with them about, because I have a wide variety of interests and a large, bank of knowledge to draw from. And I'm also willing to learn, from other people about, what's going on in their life and how their life is.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So back to Twitter, you're right. It's restricted in how much you could put up there. So you can write a little bit, but I imagine Twitter, I know with me, I usually almost always put links. I might have a couple sentences, then a link, just because it's so restricted.
Right. You can give an initial pitch and then, put a link there to something with some deeper information, and then see what happens.
Yep, absolutely. So yeah, that covers a lot of the main platforms. So I know you prefer more Facebook, but you also work with the forums, right? For Coming Home Network, is it?
Right. I post things on the Coming Home Network, and when people are answering questions, I can offer information to them to answer their questions. And a lot of people, they also have like I guess you'd call it a chat room, and people will be on there and ask about things or wondering if anybody else is out there, and you can hang out with them for a bit and talk with them about things.
Yeah, and the nice thing is you don't have to be an administrator necessarily. You can just chime in, add comments, join the forums, live chat, things like that.
Right. Mm-hmm. There's a couple other social media things that you can do. You can make your own blog. And there's also groups like you can put your blog on like Patheos or Catholic 365 or Catholic Exchange. And another thing like you did earlier this week, or maybe it was last week. Anyway, podcasts. You can record your own podcasts, and then there's lots of different podcast formats that you can then post it to and have people subscribe to your podcast. It's another way to get the information out to people, and they can listen while they're doing other things, chores around the house or driving to or from work, or riding the bus or the train, whatever, depending on how they get there. Here in the Motor City, everybody drives.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And
most of the time when you see a bus, it's pretty empty.
That's true. Unless it's the inner city, generally it's everybody has their own car, and and it is the Motor City after all. Right. So, well, Ken, hey, we're coming up to the end of the hour. Where can people get your book? How Old Is Your Church?
So they can find my book, How Old Is Your Church, on Amazon. That's the easiest place to get it. And then you can find me on Facebook. You can send me an email at kenlitchfield61@gmail.com. I'm happy to answer questions there too. But best bet is to send me a Facebook request or friend request, and then we can connect there, and happy to answer questions there and connect you with other Facebook groups that might help you out too.
Excellent. Yeah, that's actually, you just made me think of another idea that you could write reviews for books, so if you're going to pick up Ken's book, give him a bunch of stars, write a good review if you feel inclined, and that is another way you could help spread the faith, just reviewing books and other social media.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lots of
all right, Ken.
Places to reach people.
Yeah, well, hey, I hear the music coming up. Thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate it.
Really glad to be here and look forward to being on again. Thanks, Gary.
Absolutely.
God bless.
All right, Ken Litchfield, ladies and gentlemen. The book is How Old Is Your Church, and it's available on Amazon. By the way, don't forget to use Amazon Smile, because part of that goes to Virgin Most Powerful Radio. So it's already time to shut down the Midwest Command Center, turn off the dojo lights. Thank you for listening. And coming up next, the Terry and Jesse Show. Don't want to miss it. Thank you so much for listening. And God willing, we'll be back again tomorrow to do this thing we call Hands-On Apologetics. Bye-bye, everyone.
In the 1990s, I lived and worked in Hollywood. But when my wife Betty's mom took ill, we relocated to Orange County. And it was during this time in our lives that I converted to Catholicism. Once my eyes were opened to the truth, I couldn't learn enough about the faith. But I had less free time than ever, especially with a long commute. That's when I discovered the real value of Catholic audio. Listening to cassette tapes transformed my daily commute into a miniature retreat. And that's the beauty of Virgin Most Powerful Radio today. Since the podcasts are archived, you can listen anytime on our smartphone app. I know how listening to Catholic audio can bring you closer to Christ and His Church. So I encourage you to visit the App Store or go to vmpr.org and download the app today. It just might change your life. I'm Matthew Arnold for Virgin Most Powerful Radio.